This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and this afternoon I'm with Chief Constable Gavin Stevens, the Chief Constable of Surrey Police. Chief Constable, thank you very much for giving us your time this afternoon.
No problem. Good afternoon.
You have recently thanked the 580 people who have volunteered in Surrey and Sussex to be emergency helpers. What roles will they have?
Well, a whole range of roles. So, from the early days of this national emergency, I was contacted by colleagues who I'd worked with over recent years that we've brought back in to help with the resilience planning, the major incident planning, and then so we've got people involved in organising and coordinating at the county level, but then at a local level, we've got people delivering food parcels to the vulnerable, making calls to check up on people that may be vulnerable, and helping with that very local level of support, which is much needed. So the community spirit has been fantastic.
And how many of those 580, or could be more now, are from Surrey?
I don't know the exact details. People are coming cross-border for sure. I know previous colleagues of mine that I've worked with that have come back into policing at very short notice. Again, are crossing county boundaries because they've got the association to come back to us. Of course, many of them, those that are making calls, organising things on our behalf, are doing, what you're doing now, working from home and finding different ways to bring their efforts to bear. But the collective effort has been absolutely tremendous. I have a regular catch-up call with all of the borough and district chief executives, the other organisations across the county, and all of them are overwhelmed by the volunteer and support that has come forward.
Okay, now you're urging people to stay at home. Where do you stand on driving a short distance to allow exercise in a less crowded countryside area?
Please don't do it. My message on this is pretty simple, that now is not the time for any of us to try and read between the lines of the national guidance or interpret it for our own personal benefit. Now is the time to do what we're being asked to do, and that's to stay at home. Because the only thing that is going to interrupt the spread of this virus is for us to have less contact with each other. And one of the issues about driving somewhere to go for exercise is that other people have the same idea, and it can bring you into contact with people that you don't need to be in contact with. I'm particularly worried about that this coming weekend. The weather is looking good. What we absolutely don't want are people to be congregating at beauty spots, going to nice places, because that's not going to help our NHS. That's not going to reduce the pressure on them. It will lead to more cases, and ultimately more lives will be lost. So please just follow the simple advice. Enjoy the time that you've got together at home. I know it's difficult. I know it's a huge shock to us as individuals and as a society, but we have to do what's asked of us.
Okay, now one local councillor has commented that the closure of Surrey County Council open space car parks has led to more use of less suitable areas, such as his village green in Ripley, used by dog walkers. Isn't that counterproductive? Doesn't it actually decrease social distancing that we're trying to enforce?
Not if people follow the simple advice of staying home. So, as I was saying, I don't think now is the time for each of us to think about the ways to solve this problem. We've been asked to follow one simple set of advice, which is to stay home. By all means, take some daily exercise from your home. But as soon as we start to travel to somewhere that we think is better, other people have the same idea. So my message is simple. Please just stay at home, because if we don't stop the spread of this virus, more people will die, more people in our county, more of us are going to lose loved ones. And in my organisation, as in many others and many communities, we already know now stories of people that we have lost, and sadly that's going to continue. So please don't try and interpret the guidelines for your own end. Please just stay home.
Okay, now how cooperative do you find the public is being in observing the guidelines? Can you give specific instances of bad or inconsiderate behaviour? Is it continuing?
Well, by and large, people are heeding the message and just doing essential journeys for those medicines and food supplies, or to volunteer and help those in need. So most people are complying, and we're out and about because policing continues. We engage with people, and I'm really pleased with the level of support. But of course, we're going to have to keep this up for much longer. There's more of a lockdown period to go. The weather's probably going to get better. Who knows whether we'll see an extension to this or not. So we really just need to be patient. we can all see on the international news the scenes from around the globe as to just how devastating this virus is. And we've been asked to do one simple thing, stay at home. So I'm pleased with the level of compliance, but I'm worried about what might happen to it in future.
Okay, now as your officers enforce this guidance, maintaining public support is obviously important for all police forces in the country. How are you briefing your officers to enforce the rules? I mean, is it being done sensitively enough, do you think? Have they had to fine or arrest anyone in Surrey yet for non-compliance?
So enforcement is a very last resort for us. We do have national guidelines that I had a hand in writing, which are produced by our College of Policing, and it follows 4 simple stages. So the first thing that we will do, which is in the normal Surrey policing style, is we will engage with people in a friendly, open manner to find out why it is they're out and about, why it is they might be congregating in a bigger number than they're supposed to, and we will explain to them, as we've been talking about, the importance of staying at home. That is our only opportunity to interrupt the spread of this virus and save lives. The Health Secretary was speaking about that on the national news this morning. The one thing that will make a difference to the peak of demand on the NHS and the duration of this crisis is whether we heed the advice to stay home. So we explain that to people. We'll encourage them to go home, and in most instances they do. And if necessary, only as an absolute last resort will we enforce. And to my knowledge, across Guildford, we haven't had to do that yet. The encouragement is working. We certainly noticed early on that there were some places like up at Chantries and Pewley Down where people were congregating. I'd ask people, please don't do that this weekend. Please just take your exercise from home and heed the government advice.
Okay, so as far as you know, no fines or arrests have been made.
No, well, and one of the things is, of course, this is brand new legislation. It was written in a matter of days. The guidance was written in a matter of hours. Police services across the country have got to find ways to process this. Just in the last 24 hours, we've agreed a national arrangement where all of the prosecutions will be collated through. So it's going to be some time before we get accurate information on it. But the message is, we're not doing enforcement as a first resort. It's an absolute last resort, and most people, when we speak to them, they can be very easily encouraged to go home if they shouldn't be out.
Okay, now in my personal experience, one person I completely admit, social distancing is far more difficult when shopping than it has been when I'm exercising, obviously, or driving. Will you be looking at that?
So we're giving support to the fantastic colleagues that are working in our shops and supermarkets. They've had to endure all sorts over the last few weeks, haven't they? From the panic buying and how they've dealt with that, to some abuse from customers, to some thefts. Now, my personal experience is that it's a lot better organised now. I know when I was last popping out for some essentials, the queue was, people were very disciplined in standing 2 metres apart all the way around the car park to get in, limited number of people in the shops. So that seems to be working well, and the stock seem to be coming back. So we will be there to engage. And in fact, when I was queuing, one of our police cars drove past and was giving a friendly wave to people that were in the queue, just checking everyone's okay. But primarily we're there to support the shop staff and make sure that they're well looked after too, because in a way they're on the front line too, dealing with lots of customers, and we need to make sure that they're safe.
Now, of course, while this is all going on, you've got your normal policing duties to fulfil. What effect is the lockdown having on the pattern of crime generally? What are the police priorities now?
Well, there's been some interesting changes, and the police effort is really threefold. Firstly, the thing that we've been talking about, what's our part in supporting this national effort to stop the spread of the virus and save lives, and we've talked about that. The second thing is that we're doing lots of work to support the vulnerable. So we spoke earlier about the volunteering effort, distributing supplies and food to people. Where the local authorities are unable to make contact with people who they think are vulnerable, if they're not able to get them on the phone, then our neighbourhood police officers and police community support officers are going around, knocking on doors, checking people are okay. So in a way, that sort of civic duty, that humanitarian effort to keep people safe, we're involved in that too. And then on a crime front, of course, we're very worried about people that may be suffering domestic violence at home, people who may be vulnerable to fraud. So we want people to know that we're here for them as Surrey Police, and we would encourage, if at all, you're suffering and you can report to us, then please do report, because we have good levels of policing services. Our numbers are down, as they are in every organisation, with colleagues that are self-isolating and off work, or who have been diagnosed, but we've got good policing numbers still, and we are here for you if you're in need.
So by the sound of it, you're fully aware of the other increased risk areas like the scams and the domestic violence, and you are dealing with that. What about drug addicts? Because, of course, whilst it might be an unsavoury area, their supply lines might have been affected. What's happening there?
Well, some interesting things are happening in the drugs market. So there are some changes to pricing that we're seeing, and, of course, supply and availability. Making sure that people have got access to treatment. So I know that the local authorities are very tuned in to the people who are in need in their area. So, for example, our street community, our rough sleeping community, have been given support by the boroughs and districts, and I know certainly Guildford Borough Council are supporting those to be housed in accommodation. So that helps with that problem. Some of the drug supply market has fallen away because some of the recreational drug use, of course, is associated with Friday and Saturday night type activity, drink and drugs together, and that market has gone. The other thing, of course, is that with less traffic on the roads, people out and about committing criminality stand out much more to us. So we are getting some good stop checks, some good arrests for commercial burglary and for drug supply. And I would encourage people to be vigilant, as we were saying, to that scamming activity as well. And I think this is one area where the teenage members, younger members of our community, can really help their parents and grandparents. They tend to be very tech savvy.
Mm-hmm.
They can spot a scam email or a phishing email much better than their grandparents can. So keep in touch with them on the phone, keep in touch with them on FaceTime and Skype, and help them to look out for what those scams may be.
And so it sounds like there is full awareness of these other areas as well as the lockdown enforcement.
Yeah, so if people haven't looked at it, then I would encourage them to go online and look at some of the advice that's being put out by Action Fraud and by the National Economic Crime Centre. There's some really good advice about how to spot and avoid scams. And the other thing is door-to-door. Please keep an eye on your vulnerable neighbours. So if you've got an elderly neighbour that lives alone, keep an eye out, because we have had some reports across the country of people going door to door and trying to distract people on the doorstep, particularly the vulnerable elderly. So that's a really important time for communities to pull together and keep an eye out for each other. Now is a good time when I'm saying you're allowed to be nosy. Please keep an eye out what's going on. Last night I was standing outside my house banging a pan and a spoon to clap for the NHS, as a number of other neighbours were too. And that's a great opportunity just to, shout to your next door neighbour across a safe distance, check in on how they are. And if you're not hearing from your vulnerable neighbours, then please do check in on them.
Okay, and finally, you've mentioned in passing the impact of the virus on your own officers. How many of them have been affected and how many of them have had to self-isolate?
Well, quite a number. Obviously, we're not giving out detailed numbers because there's some operational issues around that.
Right.
But of course, we're not immune to this. We're affected like every organisation. So we keep an eye and we make a daily assessment as to whether we're at a sort of red state, an amber state, or a green state in terms of resourcing. So far, all green. So we're seeing pockets because, of course, sometimes this breaks out in teams, doesn't it, with people that are working closely together.
Right.
But by and large, we're seeing people having periods of 7 or 14-day isolation, often sometimes associated with family members, and then really keen to get back to work after that. So at the same time, people are going off, other colleagues are coming back, and people are wanting to be out there, keeping their community safe and supporting them. But at the moment, good policing service across the county, good service on our internet and telephone services. So if you do need our help, then please do call us and make contact.
Chief Constable, you're a busy man. Thank you very much for giving us your time. And if I may say, I'm sure you have got immense public support for the work and you and your officers are doing.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time too, and stay well and stay safe, everyone.